Anna. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You are a marketing and advertising professional with over 20 years of experience working with some of the most iconic brands in North America. In 2018, you started your own business. You're also a mentor and a mom to two awesome kids. Clearly, there's a lot for us to talk about, but for the purposes of today, we specifically wanted to focus on personal branding. But
Mhm.
before we do that, why don't we start with your personal story?
Yeah, well, thank you again for the great introduction and for starting this podcast also. So, congratulations for taking those first few steps. And really, my background is in advertising and marketing, and I've had great experience working on incredible brands and really great people also. A lot of it really comes from my experience comes from, me being a little girl and what I learned from my parents. And we all have our story about, our families and what we learn from the people around us at a very, very young age and how we're really influenced. And for me, I am a daughter of immigrant entrepreneurial parents. My parents came to Canada at a very, very young age. They met here. They had a family here. They started their lives really here. And as most entrepreneurs and immigrants, especially as immigrants, they really struggled here in Canada because English was, of course, a second language. They weren't also very educated, to be quite honest. I think my parents probably have grade two or grade three at the most
Mm,
education. My mother actually learned how to read and speak by watching the iconic show Sesame Street. So, just to
that
give you
makes
a bit of
wow.
context around my upbringing and what I was really kind of around. And at one point, my parents were working in factories, in, restaurants, and once they had their kids, they really wanted to find something a little bit more manageable because they weren't employable in, what a traditional job would look like. So they decided to start their own restaurant, their own business. And that is when, me as a 10-year-old little girl, same age as my son right now, really started to learn quite a bit about building a business and what it takes. And, watching my parents firsthand really kind of, they had no choice, right? They had to find a way to put food on the table, put a roof over our house. And they really did what they could with what they had. Um, and a big reason why they were successful is because they really leaned in on who they were, right?
Mm,
And they just, no matter what, I mean, at that time it was a pizzeria and all of these different restaurants were coming into the market, other pizzas like Pizza Huts, you name it. And, my parents were really worried about what would happen to their business as these big names were coming into the neighborhood. And the greatest story for them is that it didn't actually impact their business because
mm,
people wanted to go and see Peter and Gloria. So that to me, as I reflect on that, I really think about their personal brand, right?
yes.
That was without even knowing and labeling it as
Yeah.
personal brand, that is what was happening. That's what won them over, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really interesting when I reflect back and share that story on the importance of staying true to yourself and really leaning in on your own little special gifts.
Yeah. And do you think that the personal brand has evolved over time? Is it different now, or are they sort of the same expectations as they were back in the day when your parents were running their pizzeria?
Well, you know what? I think right now this subject is such a hot topic, right? We
Mhm.
like to label things a little bit more,
Yeah.
but it's actually the same. I mean, at the end of the day, your personal brand is how you show up in the world and the
Mhm.
behaviors,
Yeah.
right? Behavior. And, how you really communicate what it is that you do, what it is that you offer, right? It's also in, your cadence, the way that you communicate, the way that you deliver information. It is also the way that you make people feel, right?
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily, we don't have to formalize that. And that is fundamental, whether we're living in the 1970s or we're
Yeah.
living today, right? It's
Yeah.
your character and being able to kind of stay true to yourself. So I don't think that there are real changes in what
Mhm.
a personal brand was back then versus now. What's changed is we formalized it, we've given it a buzzword, we have tools that are tools to help us, you know, make ourselves shine, but the fundamentals of who we are as human beings, as a mom, as a employee, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, and the knowledge that we have in our experience really, really stays the same.
We all have examples of people that we have met personally, whether that's in our professional
Mhm.
setting or, through friends where you feel you know them, you think you know what their personal brand is, and then you see them online and they look so different the way they're presenting themselves. Why do you think that is? Because I think some people struggle with, like, how am I supposed to be showing up? And I guess different platforms have different expectations. LinkedIn versus Instagram versus TikTok. So
Yeah.
what is it?
Well, I think that, people have this, there's a lot of fear,
Yeah,
I would say, that people have in really showing up. And, a lot of the clients that I work with too, they find it a bit, I don't know. I feel like I need to be a different person on this platform versus here, versus in the boardroom, versus at the coffee table,
yeah,
at the coffee shop, at the dinner table, or whatever. And it's all, the way that I view it and the way that I also coach a lot of the people that I work with, is to encourage everybody to be who they really are. Because the thing is if you show up on a certain platform and you have a little bit of a different personality,
yes,
and then you meet them. So let's talk about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a business professional. And I'm on there quite a bit. I would say it's one of my most, I would say important channels for me. But the way that you show up there, you still want to be true to who you are, right?
yeah,
You want your personality to stay intact. You can put your business hat on, of course, because you're on there and maybe the content that you're sharing on there is a little bit more different than maybe what you're sharing on Instagram, as an example.
yeah,
But to the core, who you are should really go across any channel that you're on, because people buy into people, right? And say you are on LinkedIn and you are writing a certain way, and we've seen this time and time. People are using Chat GPT like no other,
yeah,
and they sounds the same. Um, but what ends up happening is, say you meet someone and you're in an interview,
yeah,
and they are basing that your personality based on what they've seen online, and then when you're having a conversation with someone, it doesn't really match up. So
yes,
that's where it becomes a bit problematic. So
yes.
I really encourage people to find their voice and tailor the message that you're going to put out there in the different channels that you choose to use.
Now, what about the other trending topic of being authentic, being transparent? We spend a lot of time
Mhm.
talking about that in the business world, in the corporate world. So, how much is too transparent or too authentic? What is the line? And you could see some people cross over a little bit too much, and some people just not enough. It's hard for people
Mhm.
to figure it out.
I always ask myself, even with the content that I share, as an example, is what's the purpose of me sharing this? Is it because it's inspired me?
Mm.
Because it's a lesson that I want to, like a little tip I want to share? Is rant for no reason? Is it something that I think someone would benefit from hearing? Right? Is it something that would inspire somebody? Is it something that, would make someone laugh because maybe it's a gloomy day and, you know, we all need a laugh here and there? For me, the way that I think where you can draw the line to help you draw the line of what's too personal, too much, is what's the purpose of the thing that you're putting out there in the
Yeah.
world?
Yeah.
And it's funny that you're saying this because I know this is a little bit off topic because I was thinking about, my daughter and, our kids on social media and
Yeah.
the narrative around, in our family is you're not just going to have social media just for the sake of having social media, just to,
Yeah.
do like little selfies and duck face or whatever these kids are doing. It's really, you should have a purpose. Use these as creative tools for your thing of value, right? I think that's where you can help yourself determine where the line is if you go through that filter to ask yourself, what is this specifically going to do? What
Yes.
reaction are we looking for? Um, from the audience that sees this. And if it's not going to be anything really positive or going to actually benefit you
Yeah.
also, then maybe it's not needed.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What is the why behind it? Now let's take it inside the business, inside the corporate world. Is it enough just to say this is my personal brand and this is how I'm going to show up based on my personal brand? Or do you feel like there's also this additional piece of having to continuously sort of communicate and almost sort of advertise for yourself in the corporate world? I feel like it can't just be something that's sitting on a shelf, right? Oh, I told you what my brand is.
Yeah.
Moving on. Like I need to always talk about what's the newest thing that I've done. What is it that what skills have I gained? I feel that's another piece that people struggle with.
So I believe um, that you want to be the biggest advocate of yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
And working with, say, an organization, so say it's a company that you work for, if there's some really interesting, amazing things that are happening there, yes, 1,000% you should be sharing that. I do believe that brands right now more than ever really need to invest in their employees in the sense of how are they kind of their own brand ambassadors for
Mhm.
their organization, right? And um, I mean, we are seeing quite a bit of a trend right now with brands where they are showing a lot more behind the scenes of their employees. Their employees are really the face of their brand. Uh, I believe that that is a way better way to promote your business and your company
Mhm.
versus, a lot of brands hiring so many different influencers. So I think that there's a great opportunity for employees to, raise their hand also to say, hey, company X, how comfortable would you be if I was to say to talk about XYZ, whatever it is? Yeah. So I think it's I would encourage that of anybody, to be quite honest.
What if someone doesn't know what their personal brand is? How do you figure out what is my personal brand? Do you do that type of work with
Yeah.
clients?
Yes, yes, I do a lot of that kind of work, and it's actually, not as complex as we want to make it feel like it is. Um, a big part of it is really discovering what it is that are your true gifts. What makes you unique, right? Just like when you are building a brand for a business, it's really how do you where do you start as a person who wants to kind of show their knowledge, start showing up online. And it really starts at the foundation of what is it about you and only you that you do, right? What is it that you love talking about? What is it that you know? How do you make people feel when they're working with you, interacting with you? So it's really starting at the base, like at the foundation of, the core of who you are. And then, you build off of that. You really figure out, okay, well, what would make sense for you to talk about? And what are you comfortable talking about? And it's really starting with certain subjects that you're well versed in and figuring out a way to actually produce that content, right? Because some people maybe don't like speaking on camera, and some people are more comfortable writing. And some people feel overwhelmed by, you know, technology and editing everything. So it's really figuring out what is it that you can talk about, and then how do we actually get it out there? That's like phase one.
And so, if someone was to reach out to you for personal branding, is it on as needed basis, or is it an offering that you have? Tell us a little bit more about the offering.
Yes. Well, right now I have a 6-week personal brand intensive. And what we
Mm,
do in that 6 week is really just build your personal brand blueprint. What it is, like I mentioned, it's what it is that you really want to start kind of putting out there and finding turnkey ways to actually execute on that. Because a lot of the times, a lot of people are afraid because they don't necessarily know what to say, so we kind of
mm,
put together a bit of a content strategy and a plan that feels right to you because everybody, like I said, is very, very unique and they have a very different comfort level in terms of where to start. And then from there, it's really just putting together that blueprint of how you're going to do it, how frequently you want to be able to show up. And it's not just online, but also offline. How are you getting yourself out there in the real world? Because
mm,
I'm a big believer that the best way to really, really shine is to be in real world experiences. Um, because it's not necessarily what you say, it's really what you do, right? You can say something online and believe it, but are your actions really matching up to the things that you're saying? So,
yeah.
figuring out the right events to go to, the right collaborations to have, the right podcasts to be on, as an example. Uh,
Hmm.
the right types of clients or, positions that you want for yourself. How do you kind of build your online and offline brand as a
Hmm.
person, and really execute against that.
And let's explore that a little bit more because you are a mentor and an educator. So, how does one go about figuring out where they fit in and where they should be networking? How did you get to that point where you're at right now?
It's such a great question. A lot of it is trial and error. It's really so as an example, what events to attend or communities to be a part of. I think for, as a starting point, you need to do a little bit of research. So
Mm,
based on what it is, the subjects and the topics that you want to talk about or be involved in, or say you have a goal, you want to be a thought leader and you want to be on X amount of podcasts or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
yeah.
um, it's really listing out what are those environments that you think would be the right environments for you for that
Hmm.
exact reason.
Yeah.
And For me, it's been 8 years since being on my own,
Mm,
and in those 8 years, there were some that I've invested in certain communities to be a part of that really were not the right fit, and,
mhm,
when you know who you are and the things that you really value as an example, you'll start learning what are the things that are not right for you, and then you have to make those quick decisions to say, "You know what? I made a mistake. That wasn't necessarily the right event to go to. I spent a little bit too much money. It wasn't the right thing. That's okay. I learned something from that." Right. So it does take time. And I think for me, it was more really being disciplined in that selection process and in
mhm.
those investments.
Yeah,
But that's only because I knew who I was and what I wanted to build and who I wanted to be.
yeah,
Um, but you're gonna go through that process just like anything else. Like you're learning how to ride a bike, as an example. You're gonna fall off. It's maybe not gonna be the exact thing for you, but you're gonna get
yeah.
back on and then you're gonna find something else.
One of the volunteer organizations that you're part of seems to be around pitching a business idea. I feel like I've heard you say that a couple times on your social. What is that? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm a part of a variety of different accelerator programs. And
Hmm.
one of them is really working with tech founders where they need a little bit of help with their pitch decks, the way that they go to investors for, say, their first seed round.
Yeah.
And, um, you know, these types of collaborations that I have, I love because I absolutely love working with entrepreneurs. I feel like they are the most bravest people out there to be
Hmm.
able to go out there, you know, figure out how they're going to solve a problem and really what at the end of at the end of it is build a life that's right for them because at the end of the day, yes, it is about an entrepreneur is trying to solve a problem, but they're doing it for another reason, a personal reason. And in this accelerator, it's really great to see because I see their stories and how they're selling, whether it's a product or a service. And when you're so kind of deep in it, um, you sometimes really focus too much on, say, features and benefits of the product or the service that you're selling, and you miss a little bit on, your why.
Mm.
And storytelling plays a big role in that, in telling your why. And
Yes.
I think a lot about what investors are looking for, and we've seen all the shows that are out there, Shark Tanks and all of the shows. Investors really buy into people, and yes,
Yes.
they are looking for good products and services to back. However, if you have a compelling story, that is the thing that is going to convert more than anything else. And
Yes.
what I love about being a part of this process with early stage startups is to help them craft that story or remind them, in many cases,
Hmm.
their story.
Yeah.
And the way that I get them to remind themselves is, okay, let's take a step back. And that's great that this is the market and there's a market need for that product and service. However, let's just take a step and you tell me again why you're doing this.
Yeah.
And once they start talking, you then see the narrative really change into something a lot more personal, into something that has the ability to connect more than anything else, more than the spreadsheet and the number and the market opportunity.
Yeah.
So, that's a really special type of project I'm involved. I typically work with around 3 to 5 startup founders a year, and it's just so rewarding for me.
And let's explore this storytelling
Mm.
concept a little bit more because not only does it apply to marketing, but even in my space, I work in human capital with executive teams and associates. And we talk a lot about storytelling as well, right? How powerful it is when you're doing a presentation or you're facilitating a session to bring in that storytelling. Once again, that's another piece that people struggle with. So, what do you think are the critical components of storytelling?
Yes, I mean, storytelling is really about painting a picture, right?
Yeah.
Really painting a picture in someone's mind and this is the ancient way of communicating, right? And entertaining is storytelling. And I would say we tend to focus way too much on, say, the product or the
Mm.
service. And the reason why this thing is so great that you have to have it. But when you start talking about the fundamentals of storytelling, it's really about making that connection. So again, say I'm selling a service for founders. Let's just say we can use my example. It's really about what is it that they're struggling with and understanding the consumer in a way that you can actually speak to them. So the more you know about your audience, the easier it is to create that story and
Mm.
that is going to kind of bring them into the fold, that's going to make them want to learn more, that's going to make them, feel something. So
Yeah.
the most important thing that you should start with is always your customer, right?
Yeah.
And when you know your customer, you can then speak to them in a language that they understand, that they can connect with.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you don't need to make this into this big, you know, um, complicated thing when it comes to storytelling, right?
Yeah.
That's just a method, a way to talk to somebody. Interest.
Yeah.
So when you know them, it's way easier to do that.
Yes, I love that. It's know your audience because depending on is in front of you, you'll need to tailor your message based on that. You also mentioned something very important about keeping it simple because
Yes,
I find that people really overcomplicate things so much, both in the business world, especially in the corporate world, with all of these trending new buzzwords. Someone will say something and you don't even know what they're saying
I
because
know.
they put an every buzzword that's out there, and you're like, "Can you repeat that again? What are
Yes.
you saying?"
Well, and it's so funny. One of the things that I always say is, um, if you're going to confuse somebody, you're going to
Yeah.
lose them.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
so, you know, the corporate world is very guilty of
Oh my gosh.
writing a lot. If you look at websites from corporate brands, it's just so much, so much, so much, so much to digest. And the simplification, it's the hardest job, to be quite honest, is to simplify complex messages.
Yeah.
And the rule of thumb that I use is, would my 10-year-old son
Yes.
understand this?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if he cannot understand this, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Um, and I just think that the corporate world has kind of gone way too far to try to look very intelligent. And I get it. I get it.
Yes.
But again, the way that people want to conduct business with you
Yeah.
is, how do they feel? If you're
Yes.
confusing them off the bat with
Yeah.
so many words or literally saying the exact same thing as your competitor is saying,
Yeah.
then there's no point in
There's
investing
no point.
marketing
And then you
dollar.
lose your authenticity that we
You are
just
going to
talked
lose
about,
it. And
right?
I really
Being
think
true
that,
to yourself, and it's like if I know it doesn't even come across authentic.
yeah, it doesn't. And I really encourage businesses that are more in the corporate world is to really figure out what their true voice is,
Yeah.
right? Their business is based off of people in the
Yeah.
business and the leaders that are there, and the employees and how they conduct business with their clients. It's really a matter of humanizing that B2B world, because that B2B world is is not what it really is. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be so complicated. And
No.
people, you know, everybody's attention span, let's be honest,
Yes.
is very, very short.
Yeah.
So you literally have 3 seconds to get someone to understand what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So you gotta find a quick, short, punchy, clear way of
Yeah.
communicating your value out there.
One of the best advices that I got when I started 25 years ago, and at that time I was already working with executives. So I just finished university. I'm working with executives, and every time I would go into a meeting, I felt so overwhelmed. It's like, what do I say? These people are
Mhm.
executives. Oh my gosh, I felt so overwhelmed until one of my mentors said, "Hey, they're at the end of the day, they're human.
Yes,
She has a family to go to. They're having the same dinner you're having. They're going to the same movies. They're driving. They're human.
it's
Humanize them."
it's so true, and I think what happens for some reason when we put our corporate hats on, we
Yeah.
naturally feel like we have to become somebody else.
Yes.
And I think the reason why my career has been what it's been is because I've been me, not because I've been acting like somebody else.
Hmm.
Um, I really think no one wants to be that stuffy person either. But certain environments create create that for whatever reason. So to your point, anybody, even whatever their title is, whatever it is that they do, they have a life outside of that job, right? Whether they're mothers or, fathers or sisters, brothers, whatever. They
Yeah.
they have a life outside of their job. And the job should not necessarily dictate your personality, right?
Yes. I like that.
You
That's a
need
good
to
one.
you need to dictate your personality, right? The way that
Yes.
you show up in that boardroom, the way you are vocal and what you say and when you want to step out to say what it is that you want to say,
Yeah.
right? Um and just not be so afraid of your own voice. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of us are afraid of our own voices. And you know, people need to ask themselves why? Why are they afraid of their own voices? Like,
Yeah.
what's the worst that can possibly happen?
Yeah.
Right?
I love that. That really resonated. Don't let the job dictate your personality because
Mhm.
that's not who you are. You know
It's
who you
not.
are. Let
Yeah.
that show through. That's amazing. I love that. In addition to personal branding, what else do you offer as part of your business?
So, a big part of my business is my fractional CMO offering. So, what that
Yes.
is for medium sized businesses that don't necessarily have senior leadership in house. They have a lot of great people to support them from a marketing perspective in terms of, executing, designing, some communication, but they don't necessarily have a marketing leader who can kind of put the blueprint of the business and develop the fiscal plan and figure out messaging and brand storytelling and kind of the overarching strategy of the business. So I come in as a fractional CMO and I work directly with founders and the CEOs and with their teams. And a lot of the times they also have creative agency partners where, they need a little bit of support helping manage the direction of the marketing plan. So that's kind of really where I come in. Um, that's one aspect of my business. And then another aspect of my business is I have a small business arm where I do work with more smaller businesses as a marketing advisor. It's
Mm,
more of an advisory role versus, ongoing.
yeah.
Um, so that is a more accessible way for smaller businesses that don't necessarily have the budget or access to marketing and brand strategy.
And is that more of a sort of, once again, as needed basis, or do they purchase a package with you? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so one is a package. It's a 10 pack, so you can continuously purchase that as needed. As well as another one being more of a 3-month program where we work together and I kind of build out your marketing foundation, your marketing plan, your strategy, how you're actually going to create all of the content that you want to put out there, a little bit of personal branding. It's really customized for each of the different businesses that I work with. So a lot of it is one on one. On that side, it's really something that where we start from the ground where we build out, the brand foundation. So who we are, our mission, vision, values,
Mm,
reset the stage of our communication. Are we actually communicating our
yeah.
services or products correctly? How are we
Yes.
optimizing the various channels that we're using? So a lot of education is part of that. And that seems to be a really great way that smaller solo entrepreneurs primarily can work with me.
That's amazing. And so, did I hear you say that as part of that offering is also sort of analyzing the business and how it's
Yeah.
showing up on the outside world? So you'll do some research and
Yeah.
comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, a big audit. I have a big onboarding process where there's a couple questionnaires, we do some sessions, and a full audit of their marketing communications that's currently out there. We talk about goals. We talk about, are there new product or service launches that they're looking to roll out in the next fiscal? Okay, what's the best timing for that? Just really looking at the business holistically from a marketing perspective and really optimizing the things that they're already doing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times business owners are doing really great things, but there's these small little tweaks that you could be making that will have a massive impact in your business. So, as
Yes.
an example, yes, it's all about marketing your business, but we also layer in things like personal brand. How are you
Mm,
then leveraging your own personal brand and your network to get more
yes.
clients, more customers, more collaborations, whatever it is that you really want to achieve next year?
Yeah. And so then your personal branding offering, is that just for business owners or can individuals, let's say someone that works in corporate, can they also reach out to you? People that are transitioning maybe from corporate to business.
Yes, the personal brand offering is really for anyone who is ready to be seen. Um, and it can be an executive, it can be someone who's junior, it could be an entrepreneur, it could be an employee that you have also that, is maybe extremely brilliant, but very fearful of showing up. So,
Yes.
it's really for anybody who is ready to have a voice and to be seen.
Yeah. Amazing. Anything else that we should touch on, Anna, that we haven't touched on?
I think the one thing we could, end with is to just have belief in yourself.
Mm,
And, you know, I used to be really petrified of speaking in public. And,
mm,
you know, you would never catch me doing reels and speaking on camera and posting on social
yeah.
5, 6 years ago. There's no way. And someone like me who was more of in the back seat, a silent observer, listener, when you actually step to the front,
Yeah.
you really can impact so many people's lives.
Yeah.
And you just have to believe in yourself and that's the biggest thing. And I know it may sound a little cheesy and everyone says that, just believe in yourself, but really really have the courage to step outside of your comfort zone, to show up, to add value, to
Yeah.
really, share your knowledge, your experience, the highs and the lows, because that is how people connect and that's how people get to know you.
Yeah.
That is how people want to work with you.
Yeah.
And that's how people find you as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
think about you and I.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other,
Yeah.
but we found each other. And
Yes.
that is what it's all about because you never know who's on the
Yeah.
receiving end of the thing that you're putting out there.
I love that. I really love that. And I talked to this with another guest that I had. Sometimes people won't step into something because they feel the market is oversaturated. Oh,
Yeah.
there's already so many marketers and so many human capital people and so
Yeah.
many coaches, but you are uniquely you. Anna and how she grew up with her immigrant entrepreneurial parents and all the iconic brands that she's worked with and the business that she started in 2018 is very different from the next marketing person that will have very different experiences.
Like,
It's the part that we need to own and appreciate about ourselves.
yeah. And really lean into it and
Yes.
really, really be proud of it. And
Yes.
we just need to step over that hurdle. And the second that you do,
Yeah.
your life will change. I mean,
Yes.
it is literally how I've built my business. It is literally how big, huge brands have reached out and say, "Hey, can you be a guest speaker at this event that's we're hosting and there's 150 people
Oh
that are
my
going to
gosh.
be in the room." That would have never happened had I not consistently shown up
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
and then go to the right events and network
Yes.
with the right people and go to places alone,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's such a big one. And so let's talk about that for that moment. When you made that transition, when you decided, okay, I'm going to start my own business, did you already have one or two clients? Did you completely
I
start
had
from scratch? And what did that look like?
I had nothing. I had nothing. It was really just I was not in a position to necessarily quit my corporate advertising gig, but
Yeah.
I had to. I was burnt out.
Oh,
I was really burnt out. And at
mm,
that time, my kids were very young. I think my son
yes.
was maybe 2 years old,
Mm,
and my daughter was in grade two, maybe. And I didn't have a single client. I just picked up the phone and I started freelancing.
okay.
And I said to myself, you
And
know,
so what was your pitch? What was your pitch?
I said, what was my pitch? It was
Yeah.
really someone I knew. I said, "You're building something.
Yeah.
Why don't I help you with this?
Amazing.
With my own skill." Right?
Yeah.
I didn't there was no pitch.
Yeah.
It was literally pick up
Yeah.
the phone and then pick up another phone and then call someone who's extremely influential and tell them that, "Hey, remember when we used to work together? Um, I'm off on my own.
Yeah.
If you have anyone that you think should meet me, send them my way."
Amazing.
And that is how it started. It was
Yes.
referral, but also putting myself out there.
Yes.
And it wasn't there I had no choice.
No.
I needed a job, but I didn't
Yeah.
wanna work for anybody else, and I had said to myself, "If I can help other people grow their business,
Yeah.
why can I not start my own and
Yeah.
grow it and
Yes.
work with the people that I wanna work with,
Yeah.
when I wanna work, how much I
Yes.
wanna work?" And
Yeah.
a lot of it was, you know, people don't understand that business development is the biggest aspect of
Huge.
entrepreneurship.
Huge.
And
Huge.
the feeling that you get when you get rejected, like that happens.
Yes. A
And
lot.
having thick skin and being resilient
Yes.
and, you know, that it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah.
And my services evolved. The types of clients that I take on evolved. Um, Again, because you're constantly evolving as a person and you're learning so much about yourself. So
Yeah.
you're figuring out what are the things that you want to do and what are the things that are non-negotiable,
Yeah.
right? Um, And it was really, again, the reason why my business is where it's at today, and I have the influence that I have that I never had before, is because I would send direct messages to people that I've never even met. "Hi, I'm
Yeah.
Anna." I make it personal, right?
Yeah.
"I
Yeah.
love what you just posted.
Yeah.
Totally resonates with me.
Yes.
What's going on this side of your business? Here's who I am. Maybe
Yes.
we can chat." And
I love it.
most times you don't hear anything back, but the ones that do reach back out to you,
Yeah.
they become a client.
I love that. That is such a beautiful story. And that seems to be consistent with the guests that I've had on this podcast, those that have started from scratch. It's exactly everything that you're describing in
Yeah.
their own way. It's believing in themselves, believing in what they're doing, pushing through, betting on themselves, not giving up.
Yeah, not giving up. And, you know, it's also, again, trial and error, right?
Yes.
You I've made mistakes in terms of raising awareness of my business and putting money against certain things, such as like paid editorial pieces, as an example.
Yeah.
And, you know, I learned a lot from that because that is not how people
Yeah.
are going to want to work with you.
Yeah.
They're going to want to work with you because they heard of you, they've seen you,
Yeah.
you worked with someone that they know,
Yes.
right? There was something that you said that really sparked interest. It's not because of an ad,
No.
it's
No.
because of some sort of connection.
Yeah.
And, the majority of my business has been, I would say, word of mouth.
Trying to think back to how you and I got connected. I want to say that I saw you somewhere on social, and I can't remember if it was LinkedIn or if it was Instagram. But what resonated with me is exactly what you're saying is just showing up, and you've come across so authentic and so um inspiration at the same time and humble, all the pieces that I appreciate as a human. And hence the reason I decided to just, continue sort of, connecting with you and keeping in touch because that resonated with me.
Yeah, and thank you for that because, you just never know what
Yeah.
happens after you put yourself out there.
Yes.
You don't know if there's someone seeing the stuff that you put out there. You
Yeah.
don't really know, right?
No.
And
No.
I think if you kinda also put your mind this will put your mind at ease, is if you look at social media as an example, as a tool to showcase your portfolio in a way, right? Like,
Yeah.
your knowledge. It's less about converting, but it's more about connecting and a place where people can validate who you are and your knowledge, and it's really a resume in the end.
Yes.
If you
It
really
is.
think about it, it's as simple as that. And
Yeah.
when you look at it that way, you then start creating content very differently
Yes. I love that. I
because
love
that will kind of streamline things for you and make it less daunting to be like, or have
Yeah.
these expectations that social media is going to actually convert like that. It's just
Yes.
not like that.
No. No. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I love
Yeah.
that. How can people find you, Anna?
Yeah, so you can go to my website. My business is called rubyandfoster.com. And or my Instagram handle, which is at Ruby and Foster. And you can direct message me there, to be quite honest. I
Yeah,
do respond to any messages that come through, or on LinkedIn, which is Anna Halfpenny, just my full name.
it was such a pleasure speaking with you. I've learned a lot. I'm sure my audience will do the same. Thank you for the time and the connection.
Thank you so much.